Today we will contemplate the evolutionary potentials through the lens of astrology about this powerful lunar eclipse supermoon in Pisces and how that might impact the collective for better or for worse, and then more importantly, how we can work with these energies in our own personal lives. My name is Bryan Colter. I'm an evolutionary astrologer. If you like this video, please share it with your friends. And before we dive into the astrology, quick announcement. I have about a week of life left in my summer sale, 25% off a personal birth chart reading with me. If you're interested, I'll put a link above. With that being said, let's dive right in. This period of time between now and mid-November is the most impactful time of the entire year, at least astrologically, and especially September because here we are in eclipse season. Now, although this is just a partial lunar eclipse, it's simultaneously a supermoon, which means the moon is at its closest to Earth, which means it's bigger in the sky, which means the moon is stronger. And not only that, the moon is always strong when it's in a water sign of Pisces, because moon represents heart, it represents soul. So it is an emotional planet, if you will, and it has been observed that the comings and goings of the moon, especially during supermoons, tends to make people more reflexive and more reactive, also more instinctive and intuitive, because these are functions of our subjective reality. So when the moon is in Pisces, it's a little bit stronger, and it's eclipse, and it's a supermoon. And last but certainly not least, we also have moon next to Neptune in Pisces. So this takes this Piscean archetypal field and times 3 it. This is not just a run-of-the-mill Pisces event. This is very, very strong. The reason for this is that Neptune is said to be the more modern ruler, planetary ruler, over the sign of Pisces. So therefore, Neptune is in its own sign, which of course it has been since 2012, but Neptune in its own sign is at peak when it's being contacted by other planets that make it stronger, and of course the eclipse would qualify as that. Now, Pisces is one of my favorite signs to talk about because it has an extreme high end and an extreme low end. So one way of putting it is during this eclipse, we're playing for high stakes. There is a very high potential, a more virtuous potential, and then there's an extreme dark side. So the pendulum swing between light and dark is a little bit wider with this symbol. And at the high end of the spectrum, because Pisces and Neptune, both of these symbols, relate to the archetype of the mystic, we have concepts such as enlightenment or cosmic consciousness, or as the Greeks say, theosis, which means union with God. Now, I'm not predicting during this eclipse there's going to be some rapture event, that's highly unlikely. Or I think it's fair to say, as we observe reality, it doesn't seem like there's an epidemic of enlightenment on planet Earth right now. But a more practical way of saying this, and this is the positive intention of this event, is amongst the collective, the potential for collective consciousness to receive a little positive bump towards more virtuous behavior. This is much more likely during this time. Astrologers have observed for many, many centuries that during eclipse season, it's very common for major world events to have a catalytic impact on the direction and flow of humanity. So big events. And then we tie these two principles together, big events that help to raise the consciousness of the collective. This is stating it positively. Here's the metaphor. 9/11. That was a terrible event in America. And one of the catalytic impacts of that event is it helped to raise the consciousness of humanity. There was many countries around the world that felt deep levels of compassion, which, by the way, that emotional state of being is deeply related to the most compassionate sign of Pisces and the planet Neptune for that matter. The collective, humanity, felt more compassion for America because we went through that horrific event. Of course, that compassion was somewhat short-lived, but there was that bump, a raising in consciousness. Now, what I'm not doing here is predicting there will be a terrorist attack. There's no reason to correlate supermoon lunar eclipse in Pisces with that exactly happening. But allowing that event to function as a metaphor, that same principle of the potential of a major world event that can have a positive impact for humanity. As promised, every front has a back. What about the low end? How might this impact the collective in a more negative way? Well, in a couple different ways. For starters, the dark side of Pisces and Neptune is linked to deception, dishonesty, creating illusions and mirages, people suffering from delusions. There is this kind of magic trick side of Pisces. Coincidentally, David Blaine, I think he's a Pisces, and he's the master of illusions. So this is a dark side potential of this. And Pisces is linked to media. The other planet that rules Pisces is Jupiter. We'll have to take a look at Jupiter as well. It's in Gemini, the other sign that's related to media. So we could be looking at major world events also linked to media being a little bit dishonest or creating illusory states of consciousness. And of course, that's classic during September and October, right before a big political event, at least in America. So just be aware of that and to not fall into the trap of the trickery of the magic tricks if that does happen. Here's another way this can impact humanity. The concept of sensitivity. As I stated towards the beginning, the moon represents emotional sensitivity. It's quite strong as a supermoon in a water sign. So too does Pisces relate to emotional sensitivity, but it also is, so is Neptune, by the way, the most psychically sensitive archetypes in astrology. Both are very heavily activated now, given turbo boosters by the eclipse. So people are feeling both psychically and emotionally, on average, I'm generalizing here, much more strongly than what is considered normal. And this principle of sensitivity, where sensitivity is at peak now, we can tie this into all our interpretations of Pisces and Neptune. For starters, and this is the extreme dark side of Pisces, of all the signs, it is the one that is most vulnerable to numbing oneself, to addiction, to checking out of reality. So I would imagine people, in party mode a little bit more than what is considered normal during this eclipse season. Let's check out. There's too much pain to feel, and we couple this with the idea that we are feeling it more intensely than normal. So it behooves us to just be aware of that and to kind of put our unhealthy desires in check during this time. I'm not going to make, having a glass of wine and putting a hat on our headache and dancing the night away a terrible thing. But of course, there's levels to this. There's very powerful ways of working with this, and there's more escape artist ways of working with this. And how we choose to work with this energy is a matter of free will. So to be more aware about our unhealthy desires are a part of our emotional body, or our astral body if you want to use more mystical language. The astral body governs sentiments and desires. Some desires are fine, that's part of being a human. Some are not so fine, they can distract us from the core work, from the path. So just be aware of that. Now, working with this energy on a personal level. There's no greater prize if you get it right, because ultimately, Neptune in Pisces is about spiritual development. There's also a very creative side to this as well, which I'll talk about, but it is about fundamentally raising our consciousness. So is it spirit or spirits? Well, I work towards growth and evolution and try to invoke more compassionate Piscean states within me, or will I just play Call of Duty for the night, or will I check out? Will I distract myself? Is it spirit or spirits? This is the juxtaposition. So what's the common ingredient that's connecting these two seemingly opposite ideas is hypersensitivity, which again is heightened now. We can leverage that sensitivity towards so-called spiritual evolution, or we can check out. So are we going to check in or are we going to check out? That's the question this eclipse is holding before us. There's a lot of creativity and divinely inspired ideas during this time. That's part of Pisces, that's part of Neptune. It's known as the visionary, the dreamer. It's also important to point out, pay close attention to your dreams during this time. You might have some inspiring ideas or some very unique symbolism entering through you as you're asleep. So when you wake up, jot those down or create a little voice memo on your phone so that you can try to decode that symbolism to receive those insights moving forward. So the mystic, the dreamer, the visionary, and part of that visionary energy associated with Neptune and Pisces is creativity, not creativity that we create through force of will, but rather if we can enter into a relaxed state of consciousness, which is part of Pisces, some of those creative ideas can enter into us and flow through us. And there's many famous artists throughout history that claim what they create isn't their own creation. They therefore become the conduit for the muse. So for those of you out there who maybe you're professional artists, or maybe you just have a creative hobby in your life that brings you great joy, a very powerful way of working with this eclipse supermoon is to put yourself in particular states of consciousness or relaxed states, scientifically known as alpha states or theta states, and set a strong intention of, okay, I'm ready for inspiration. I'm ready for new ideas and creative jet stream of potential to flow through me. I'm ready for that light bulb moment. And then put yourself in a particular, let's say, serene environment. For some people, it might be lighting some candles. For some people, it's playing some beautiful music. For some folks, it's going out into nature. And after, a 10-minute hike, the creative juices start to flow. Whatever it is for you, it's almost in a ceremonial type fashion, creating a sort of environment that can help to trigger in you light trance or deep trance states of consciousness, again, coupled with the strong intention of, I'm ready for these creative ideas, and then surrender. Surrender is a beautiful word associated with Pisces, and allow that inspiration to flow through you. And even if you don't have a creative hobby, or if you feel like you don't have a creative bone in your body, which I in part disagree with, because I think all souls incarnate are creative beings, because where our attention goes, energy flows. We are major manifestors. But even if you're not interested in what we would classically consider the arts, just think about a problem in your life that you'd like to see improve, or a problem that's really vexing you, where you'd like to receive a solution to that problem, or a creative idea about that problem so you can kind of wiggle your way out of it, whatever it is. Same principle. Create a serene environment to put you in that state of consciousness. Set the strong intention as I'd really love the solution to this problem. And then, meditate on it, so to speak. And during an eclipse season, the potential of you to benefit through that visionary energy is heightened now. This is a positive and powerful way of working with this event. I also want to stress the advantages and benefits of meditation now. Even if you're a seasoned meditator or a novice meditator, seeking out meditations that can provide a fruitful experience for you. Because again, the loftiest, highest goal for Neptune and Pisces and the evolutionary question is, what do I have to do during this event to spiritually evolve, to invoke more feelings of love and compassion and serenity in my own heart? And meditation is classically seen as one of the more powerful activities to accomplish just that. The next question is, what kind of meditations? And I think any meditation is just fine. If we want to make it more fine-tuned, we connect it to Pisces, again, the visionary archetype. For you Pisces people out there, you have an amazing imagination. Close your eyes, it's interesting in you. So it is connected to the idea of visualization. And there are very powerful meditations out there that focus on visualization. That's what I would recommend. But we can even take this a layer deeper and recognize, again, the other planet that rules Pisces is Jupiter. And Jupiter is the greater benefic. It's linked to the archetype of Santa Claus, the most generous planet in all of astrology. So I love the idea of, yes, visualization, but also practicing giving and generosity within the visualization practice, giving of your love. And even Virgo, which is the opposite sign of Pisces, and here we are towards the end of Virgo season because the sun's in Virgo. Virgo is the servant archetype. It's about selfless service to others, at least on the high end. It's following the virtue of service. So we have Virgo, the servant. Meanwhile, the jolly Santa Claus Jupiter, this more buoyant, expansive side of the Pisces archetypal field. It's like, okay, how can I practice a meditation where I can practice generosity within the meditation and giving of my love? And I've custom designed a meditation for this. I've called it the Meditation of Kings in honor of Jupiter, known as the King of the Gods. It's a very Jupiterian meditation. I highly recommend it. So during this eclipse and even the couple weeks after, I will have that available on my new channel, my YouTube channel called Meditation Nexus, and you can find the Meditation of Kings. I'll put a link up here. It'll also be below. So yeah, as I said, the energy is going to be a bit wild, a bit crazy between now and mid-November. And we did see that with Pisces, there is a rather wild swing about how this can manifest. Some of it is very dark. Some of it is very, very positive. And how you choose to work with this energy on a personal level is totally up to you. But we described some different options. We got the visionary states of consciousness to become the conduit for the muse. That's definitely available now. And then just having beautiful, inspiring ideas entering into you. And then, of course, the Holy Grail is trying to sprout those angel wings. These are the core evolutionary intentions, with the goal being to expand our consciousness. Thank you.